Theresa May is preparing to abandon her plan to ask the EU for a 9-month Brexit delay after furious cabinet ministers told her the Tory party would only accept a 3-month wait. The Prime Minister is now expected to write to the EU asking for a shorter extension, as Downing Street admitted last night that Britain's departure from the European Union is at a crisis point. Mrs May was forced into a humiliating retreat after being put under severe pressure by senior ministers at a cabinet meeting and will now write to Donald Tusk for a considerably shorter extension. The sudden change of direction left some ministers reeling. One told The Sun, "Nobody knows what the F is going on, or even who in No 10 is actually gripping it. Maybe nobody is. The whole thing is a national humiliation on a scale we have not seen in many, many decades, if ever before." At the 90-minute cabinet meeting, cabinet ministers were at loggerheads on just how long a potential extension would be. Defense Secretary Gavin Williamson and International Trade Chief Liam Fox were thought to be against a lengthy delay, as was Commons leader Andrea Leadsom. She said, "This used to be the cabinet that would deliver Brexit, and now from what I'm hearing it's not. It comes 1,000 days on from the 2016 referendum, and just 10 days before the UK is due to leave the Brussels club." She told ministers that parliamentary opposition to no deal, the rejection of her plan by MPs and John Bercow's decision to block the vote this week meant she had been forced to try to put off the March 29 departure date. Tomorrow she will travel to Brussels to establish the terms of an extension to Article 50 before putting it to the Commons next week. During a stormy session of the cabinet, the Prime Minister rounded on Mr Bercow for dredging up a 17th-century convention in order to block the vote on her plan. She said the Speaker was making a laughingstock of Parliament. In the wake of his ruling, which came as a surprise to Number 10, Mrs May told ministers, "The Speaker has framed this debate as Parliament versus the government. But what it actually is now is Parliament versus the people." A cabinet source said, "The only thing agreed this morning was that everyone hates Bercow." The Prime Minister's official spokesman said Mrs May had predicted a crisis if MPs rejected her deal for a second time, adding, "That situation has come to pass." Mrs May told the cabinet she would ask for an extension with a break clause that could allow the UK to leave the EU by June 30 if her withdrawal agreement is passed. But she acknowledged that, with no deal agreed, and the UK due to leave next week, she would also have to seek a longer extension. Ministers were not given the proposed end date of the longer extension, with allies of the PM apparently fearing a leak to the media. Downing Street denied reports that Mrs May was ready to ask for a delay lasting up to 2 years. Her deputy David Lightington is said to have told his EU counterparts that she would seek a delay of 9 to 12 months unless she can get her deal through in the coming weeks. Number 10 dismissed the report yesterday. But a cabinet source said it was already clear that 9 months would not be long enough because the new European Commission will not be in place until the autumn. "A 9-month extension is a joke," the source said. "There will be no one to talk to in Brussels until October. The idea we can get a new deal agreed in 3 months is ridiculous. All it means is we'll have to go through this humiliating exercise again at Christmas. What is the point?" Irish Foreign Minister Simon Coveney said the UK would need to provide a very persuasive plan to support any request for a long extension to the Article 50 negotiation process. Former Cabinet Minister Nicky Morgan said both Parliament and the government had to get a grip to prevent a slide into political chaos. Mrs. Morgan said, "It is jaw-dropping that the country is watching horror-struck at the lack of decisions from Westminster. At a time when the country needs stable government, people are still indulging in what they would like rather than what can be achieved." Some ministers argued that the prospect of a long delay would pile pressure on the pro-Brexit Tory MPs of the European Research Group to back the PM. But Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson suggested the move would backfire, telling her, "Trust your instincts that a long extension would create division in the party." Mrs May's plan was defeated by 230 votes in January and again by 149 votes last week. She had planned to put it to a vote again yesterday, but was blocked by Mr Bercows ruling that MPs should not be asked to vote again on the same proposition. Allies of the Prime Minister still believe it is possible that MPs could finally knuckle under next week. Her official spokesman said, "The Prime Minister is absolutely determined to find a way in which Parliament can vote to leave the EU with a deal. The PM wants that to happen as soon as possible. She does not want a long delay and believes that asking the British public to take part in European Parliament elections 3 years after they have voted to leave would represent a failure by British politicians." Brexit Secretary Steve Barclay said there was a growing risk of no Brexit unless MPs agreed to back Mrs May's deal in the coming days.